Great. All right, so why don't we start with a brief introduction. I would like to give each of the panelists some time to introduce themselves. So, Jennifer, I'll start with you.
Hi guys, my name is Jennifer Morelli. As Marielle mentioned, I'm a nurse informatician. I work within UNC's School of Nursing. My time is split between the two research labs mentioned, the Carolina Applied Informatics Research Lab and the Center for Virtual Care Value and Excellence. Um, what I do primarily changes on a day-to-day basis, but I'm primarily involved in research regarding uh, clinicians, providers, virtual nursing research, telehealth research. We do a lot of different things and try to stay kind of ahead of the game in terms of innovation. My background is as a nurse. I was a nurse for 8 years prior to coming back and doing the CHIP Master's program, and I graduated in summer of 2022.
Wonderful, thank you. Maya?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Maya Suggs, and I am a CHIP alumni. I graduated from North Carolina Central with my public health undergrad degree back in May of 21, and then I came straight into UNC CHIPS program in August of 21. Graduated in December of 22, and that's when I finally entered my career field as a data analyst. My first job was being a data analyst for a science museum, small nonprofit. Worked there for fairly 10 months before I started my current job now as a population health data analyst for Privia Health. I love it. Absolutely love it. We are a physician enablement company, and basically, we sit in the middle of our payers, so all of our insurance companies and all of our private providers' offices, and our providers specifically do not work fee for service. They work based on value-based care, meaning they get paid based on how healthy their patients are. And my job is just pretty much to figure out the why. Why is this going on? Why do we see this certain trend or that certain trend? I know today we realized that we were in a deficit with one of our contracts with Humana. So they pinged me, Maya, figure out why. We don't know why. Figure it out. So that's what my day-to-day looks like. Different questions pop up every single day. It just requires deep dive research, and I love it. We could get more into it later.
Thank you so much. And Ruchi?
Hi, so I'm Ruchi Mehta. I graduated in May of 2023, so it's been a year and a half almost now. I've been working with a hospital system, which is UMass Memorial Health, which is part of UMass Booster. It's in Massachusetts. My job is as a data scientist. I work on an impact analysis team. So essentially, as Maya said, we also work for a lot of we are an ACO, which is Accountable Care Organization. So we are part of multiple value-based programs. So my majority of my work revolves around what is the impact of all these programs that we are part of on patients' outcomes. So we do a lot of work with currently, like for an example, right now I'm working with a practitioner to see like if we are using all these GLP-1s, which is Ozempic and stuff like that, is it actually improving weight management? Is it improving their A1Cs and stuff like that? So yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Thank you so much. And next, maybe you can talk a little bit about your journey into the health informatics field, and you can share what inspired you to enter this field, what motivated you to pursue a master's in health informatics. And I'll start with Maya this time.
Yes, so as I mentioned earlier, originally I studied public health education at North Carolina Central, and I graduated in 2021, which means my last 2 years were virtual because of COVID. So I had no choice but to find a virtual internship. My internships ended up being at the Boys and Girls Club of Durham. And something I noticed specifically with my babies, because it was age kindergarten through fifth grade, they were very, very hungry a lot of times. They were very uninterested and sleepy. And it wasn't what I was used to. I remember after school, we were running around, we were in a good mood. So I went to my director and I said, hey, do you mind if I just issue a quick little questionnaire every week, every Friday? And she said, sure. So I did. And that questionnaire consisted of questions such as how often do you eat? How many hours of sleep do you get? Obviously, we translated it for them. Some of them couldn't read, just like how healthy, how happy you are, things like that. And what we determined from just a short, quick questionnaire that we issued once a week is that a lot of them were not eating as an appropriate amount. They were not getting enough sleep, and a lot of it had to do with their environment. So just from that questionnaire, we implemented a lot of changes, such as making sure we had the right nutritious snacks in the right amount, and making sure if some kids needed nap time, because a lot of them, our fifth graders, took care of their little siblings once they got home, we provided a small little room for them to nap. I say all that to say that's when I discovered I loved data, just from that issuing that one questionnaire, doing the analysis of it, and being able to implement some changes, which had big effects on our students. I loved it. So I started researching where can I go with my public health degree? How can I get more into data? Ran across the health informatics field here at UNC, did a little bit more research, realized this is what I want to do. And I applied, I got in, and it's the best decision I've made.
That's really great. Great story. Thank you. Ruchi?
Sure. So my journey kind of started a little bit differently. I was a clinician back in India. I graduated in 2019 with my dental degree and started working as a dental clinician. Eventually, COVID hit, and I was going to hospital every day doing. Of course, it's definitely rewarding, but after a point through those 2 years, I really got drained out. So decided that I really need to like step it up. I cannot continue doing this every day. And it also has like I have some health reasons that I cannot be in close contact with people like infectious people all day, every day. So yeah, that's when I decided I have this clinical knowledge. What can I do with it? So I did a couple of internship back in India. We actually like kind of found an epicenter for dengue using data. So did other like I also did like a hospital management internship, but also used like a lot of data in that work. And eventually I found that I am really interested in like doing something related, which is like health related, but not exactly on field. So yeah, that is how I ended up in the field.
Great. Thank you. And Jennifer?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I was a nurse for several years before going back to school. And in my nursing career, I did a lot of different things, including different EHR rollouts as a travel nurse. So I traveled around the US and helped with EHR implementation and rollouts. And kind of a sticking point that I saw throughout all of that was, just frustration with nurses, with clinicians in the systems that we use, that primarily EHRs are built as billing tools rather than patient care tools. And I started to get burned out working bedside nursing, as I'm sure you guys have heard before. It's a very stressful job, and I was getting more and more frustrated with EHRs, with the systems that we used, and I wanted to know, how can we make these better? How can we make these more easy to use? How can we reduce burnout? So I started kind of digging around. I found CHIP, and I was like in immediately. I was like, I'm all in. And went to an information session and I was like, yep, I'm gonna apply. I'm all in. And um, like Maya said, I think it was an awesome decision. I have really enjoyed the transition from working clinically to transitioning over to informatics.
Thank you so much. And next, let's dive a little deeper into your experience with the CHIP program. Could you share which skills or knowledge you gained during the program that, in your opinion, have been most valuable in your career so far? And I'll pass it on to you, Jennifer.
Yeah, sure. So I thought I took the Python courses with Dr. Gotts. That was extremely helpful for me. I use Python very regularly. I also took the database courses. Those were also extremely helpful. And as part of the business skills courses, I took project management. And I thought to myself, when the heck am I ever going to use this? And the answer is literally all the time. I am not a project manager, but dang, do I manage projects. Yeah, and it's super helpful in terms of keeping myself organized, keeping myself, as far as timelines go, deliverables, keeping myself on track. Like, even though I work with a project manager, being able to have those skills for myself has been really, really helpful. And is something I use literally every single day. Yeah.
Fascinating. Thank you. Ruchi?
Sure. So I think the most important skill that I would say for especially like the job that I do is SQL, like using databases and using because I work with Epic data a lot. Like my entire day just goes by like looking at patient data, fetching data from Epic. So definitely like if you end up in a place like me, SQL is something that is non-negotiable. I think that is the discussion that we had yesterday also. Like, I would say if you can expand your like understanding on how to use any kind of SQL servers as much as possible, because that is something that is going to be like basis of what you do. The other kind of not exactly courses, but skills that I would definitely want everybody to think about is not just analyzing the data, like not just fetching and like merging the data, like try to gain insights, like how would you like interpret this data, or like anybody can come in and like just merge stuff and present it like, okay, this is what it is. The main kind of thing that can set you apart is like trying to gain insights or trying to convey insights from it. And one really good example of it is like you like learning how to visualize data properly. Like depending on your audience, you need to choose correct like methods how you want to visualize them. So while in chip, I did get like familiarized with Tableau, but there are like other kind of lot of other visualization tools like Power BI, even deeper in Tableau. You should definitely look into that, because that is something which is kind of day to day again for me. And the other third thing that I would say, which is kind of little different, was the course that I took for US healthcare. Because somebody who is an international student, I have never been in the healthcare, like I had never been to a hospital here before. So gaining understanding of like what US healthcare looks like my work revolves a lot around like Medicare, Medicaid. I had no idea what that is up until like I took that course. And as much as like when you are in that course, you feel like, huh, why do I need to understand like what is value-based care, what is accountable care organization? I might it's those are the things that will come very handy, and that is something that sets me apart from my peers, because I have understanding of those things versus somebody who has done like business analytics. It's not part of like their curriculum to understand that. So definitely sets me apart in that.
Yeah, those are great points. Thank you. And Maya, yeah, thanks.
I'm going to sound like a broken record because I'm just going to repeat what they said. But honestly, my main, most important classes that I took here that I will forever carry on for the rest of my career, one being project management. I always thought that I could just sit in the back and crunch the numbers. No, they sort of kind of employers give you a question or give you something to figure out, and it's literally your project. You have to manage time, you have to manage everything about it. So project management was amazing, and also learning how to present the data and tie it back to the overall objective, the overall goal. It's like both Jennifer and Ruchi said, anyone can present data, but being able to present it with a bigger picture in mind and how you're reaching your goals is really what's most important. And then, of course, database management and SQL. SQL was probably the one of the most important things I've learned in this program. My first job was working straight with Salesforce and Power BI and Tableau, and my job right now is working with Snowflake. And although Tableau uses a different language called DAX, everything is built off the back of SQL. If you know SQL, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's it's sort of kind of easy to figure out other programming languages because they're all similar in a way. SQL is the granddad of all programming languages. So I won't repeat everything they said, but I agree with both of them 100%.
Thank you. And now I'd love to touch on the topic of your internship experience. Could you share with us how you found your internship and any advice you have for students who are currently searching for internships? Whoever wants to go first. Jennifer, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, I'm happy to start. So I mentioned this yesterday in the alumni meeting, but I found the seminar series extremely helpful in terms of figuring out what I wanted to do, number one, and number two, networking. When I saw who was going to be on a seminar series, I looked them up on LinkedIn. Side note, if you don't have a LinkedIn, make one tonight. Seriously. So whenever I saw who was going to be presenting for a seminar series in a week, I would look them up on LinkedIn, see what they're working on, see what their research is about, and send them a connection request after the seminar series. Ask questions during the seminar series so that they see your name in the chat. They're able to respond to you. Then they can say, oh, this is the person that was at the seminar series. I'm going to accept this connection request. I don't think I ever had one declined. And my internship, I found through someone presented at the seminar series. I was like, this is exactly what I want to be doing. This is super interesting to me. I sent that connection request out. I sent them a message. I said, this is super cool. This is exactly what I want to do. Do you have any internship availability opportunities, anything? And it was with Duke. It was with Duke's Institute for Healthcare Innovation. So they had done like Duke internships before. They weren't really familiar with UNC student internships, but they were like willing to make an exception just because I showed that passion and drive. And they set me up. I had a couple different projects that I worked on, and it was all because like I took that initiative of like networking, reaching out. So I highly recommend that if you're looking for something that like going the extra mile, like that people find that really, really important. And if you seem passionate about stuff, they want to share that with you. I guarantee it. So
Thank you. Ruchi?
Yeah. So my internship experience was a little bit different. I actually did my internship with Dr. Weiser from School of Medicine. So when I came in, I was actually looking at things that I was interested in, and her kind of area of research, which was behavioral health, was pretty interesting to me. So when I saw that she was also working on that project for with somebody else, and that that person had to like they graduated. So I knew that there was an opening in that, and I was actually interested in that program, that specific internship. So I did reach out to her, and I was able to get it. But definitely, that's one thing that I would definitely say to like people is like reaching out to our professors or reaching out to anybody who you are interested in, even if they don't have anything. You need to reach out, because if you have that connection or that conversation going on, you can gain a lot of like understanding of experience from their day-to-day stuff like that. And also I would say, for anybody who is like really looking into getting an internship for summer, I would suggest that you start like looking everywhere by like late October. Most of us think that, oh, it's in summer, we have a lot of time, and that's what happened to me, honestly. So by the time I realized that I need an internship for summer, it was already November, December. And I'm not saying that you may not end up with something, but it is really important like start as early as possible. And honestly, like when we start a program in fall, so sometimes it's just okay, it's the first semester, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know where your direction is going. But I would still say try applying like as soon as possible, as soon as like, of course, we know that we need to do an internship. So just start applying like at least by November, so that something, because a lot of like companies finalize their internship by like January, February, they are done with their summer intern. So yeah.
Yeah, Maya, you can go ahead. Thank you.
So my internship was actually with the Emerald School of Excellence, which is a recovery high school here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Meaning our students, it's a recovery program, but for ages 15 through 18. And I was there it was just my grad school job, something to get through grad school as a teacher assistant. And it was so hard to find an internship, extremely hard. So what I did was sort of kind of created my own internship. I realized, first thing I realized is health informatics is everywhere. At every company, in every environment, it is everywhere. So with our students, similar to my undergrad internship, actually very similar, I noticed that teachers were just overwhelmed with their behavior and they were starting to sort of kind of give up on our students. What I seen, because I was closer in age with them, was that they were just misunderstood. They obviously had a lot on their mind. They were going through stuff, and I sort of kind of just understood them in a different way. So I went to our principal and said, "Hey, I'm working over the summer. I'm also a grad student. Here's my schooling background. I think it can tie into a project here. Can I do it? Would you be my internship manager?" And he said, "Sure, that sounds great. We don't have any interns. Sure, why not?" So I sort of kind of created my own project in a atypical place that wasn't even offering a health internship. And it was really the best thing. At the end of my internship experience, we did end up increasing our test scores over 60%. So it was amazing what we was able to find through data and implement little things such as just like rewarding different teaching styles. We really took the students' feedback and implemented that a lot. But my advice would be, once again, start looking early, like Ruchi said, but health informatics is everywhere. And if the opportunity is not already there, don't be afraid to create one yourself. Don't be afraid to speak up and go after it. The worst they can say is no, just ask the next person. And that's it.
Thank you. I'm so glad you both brought up the starting early. I feel like that's something that we constantly, emphasize, but it's great to hear from you that it is very important. And the creating your own experience, I think that is really fascinating. Like you said, it's everywhere. And so you can just find an opportunity. So thank you. Thank you. That was very insightful. And going back to networking, you all talked a little bit about that. What would you say is a successful networking strategy for a student? Like where do they start? Where does someone start, and what steps does one take for a successful network strategy? Mayal.
I would say network everywhere. network at your spouse's or your friend's wedding or your spouse's family cookout, every single where. If you're waiting in line at Target, you will be surprised how many people I have found in my field and how many connections I've made on LinkedIn and people I can now reach out to for recommendations just from talking in the most random places. We're just waiting outside or in line for something. And I just bring up, yeah, this is what I do for work. And they're like, OMG, I do the same thing, or I work for a similar company, but I do something different. And then next thing you know, you just make a connection. I say, don't just look for, of course, I agree with Jennifer with when you find someone in your field that you would like to get advice from, reach out to them via LinkedIn. Do not be afraid to DM. They will respond 80% of the time and be more than welcome to guide you and provide tips. That's amazing. But also just don't be afraid to talk to anyone. You never know who is who and where you'll find them.
Thank you. And Jennifer?
Yeah, so again, make a LinkedIn. If you don't have one, make one. Get a headshot done. Have your friend do a headshot for you. Like it'll take 10 minutes and it's super duper worth it. Um, and as you start building your connections on LinkedIn, start with other students, start with your fellow students. If people see on LinkedIn, someone sent me a connection request and I'm already connected, we already have a mutual connection, I'm like 99% likely that I'm going to accept that connection, right? Um, or when you send out a connection request, you can send a little note like, hey, I'm interested in, following you and seeing more about the work that you're doing. I also want to say, like, as someone who is in academic research now and like I'm actively going to conferences and stuff, conferences almost always have really low student rates. So like $25, $50 for a 3-day conference versus me as a researcher, I'm paying like 250, 300 plus for that same exact conference. But when you get in there, those are people who are leading in the industry. It's not just researchers, it's salespeople, it's consultants, it's all kinds of people, and they love talking to students, especially if you can go to them and say, like, I'm in this program, I'm interested in what you're doing. They love it. The last conference I was at had like a group of like 10 students, and I could just see them moving around the room, like schmoozing with every different group. So I highly recommend that. If there's something that you're interested in, look out for, conferences, virtual or in person. Get that student rate. It's super worth it. You will easily make your money back in networking connections at those conferences and knowledge that you learn, obviously, but for networking especially.
Thank you. And Ruchi?
Yeah, so my advice would be kind of similar to what both of them said. But in addition to that, I would definitely like to include that try to do like informational interviews. It's kind of not that like easy to get an informational interview, but there are a lot of like alumni and people on LinkedIn who are actually open to it. So just whenever you get it, whenever you try to make a connection and they accept it, try to do like a small, like just ask somebody. Nobody's gonna give you an hour to do that. So ask them like, hey, are you up for a 15-minute chat? Or like, those coffee chats, right? So stuff like that. And I mean, of course, that it's a long shot that everybody you reach out to is going to like accept that. But if you try like at least one informational interview or like one coffee chat a month, that is also a lot. Like you can gain so much during those 15-20 minutes from somebody. So yeah.
That's all great advice. Thank you so much. And we hear from many students sometimes about feeling demotivated and sometimes burned out after so many applications and so many rejections. And I wanted to ask, do you remember experiencing something similar? I think, Maya, you mentioned that was a little bit of your experience. And if so, how do you stay motivated? And any advice for students who find themselves in that situation?
You already called me out, so I'll go first. First and foremost, your feelings are valid. It is very depressing and it's very overwhelming. I will say, honest truth, for both my jobs, my first one, post grad, and now my current one, I received well over 100 no's, well over, and this was over the period of 3 months. It took me about 3 months to get both jobs. So well over 100 no's.
And I want to say, I think volume, it went a little lower. I don't know if anybody,
Can you hear
yeah.
me now?
Yeah, but it's a little quiet. That's okay.
Okay. Is this a little better? All right. So I was saying for both of my positions, the one first out of school and my current position, it took me about 3 months of applying for jobs before I was hired at both. I did about 20 applications a day, all 7 days of the week. And I received for both of my experience, I received well over 100 rejections, 2 interviews, and one yes. Both of my experiences literally were the same. 2 interviews, one yes, out of 200 plus applications. And it was so devastating. I started to doubt myself, my self-worth, if I was smart enough, if I was good enough, if I was experienced enough. But I just refused to give up. One thing that my mentor at the time kept telling me was there's so many opportunities out there. There's a lot of money out there. Go get it. You cannot give up no matter what you think. Go get it. And that just kept going in the back of my head. And every time I actually received a rejection email, I put 2 more applications in. Every single time, I just refuse to give up. So once again, your feelings are valid. It is devastating and it is overwhelming, but just please do not give up. And this may be a question in the future. I'm sorry if I'm answering it prematurely, but the way I actually got my job was putting in, instead of just searching Charlotte, North Carolina, or Charlotte or North Carolina, my search for the location was United States. I just put in the United States. And I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I work for the Mid-Atlantic region and at my company, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. So I work fully remote and I got that job by searching United States. That was a really good tip someone gave me instead of just searching your city and your state. So I wanted to pass that along. But yes, hopefully I answered the question.
Yes, thank you so, so much. Ruchi?
Yeah, so I know as an international student, it's like an added burden of that, like you need to find a job within uh, 60 days or 90 days. And being as is the job market, it's anyway difficult to get a job. So I do understand like how frustrating it is to like send out application. I have literally woken up one morning with like 5 rejection email waiting for me, and that was like my breaking point that day. So I wouldn't say that it's okay, it happens. It definitely, it's devastating. It's gonna take a lot of like your mental, uh, you know, it's gonna take a lot of mental work to be okay in those situations. One thing that did help me was to kind of, if I find that okay, this is getting too overwhelming, I would just take a step back for at least like 2 or 3 hours, go out, take a walk, and then come back and just dive right in. Because if you keep on like sitting in that same environment despite of being heartbroken, it's not going to work out. But again, as Maya suggested, it's like you need to do like quality up, like quantity applying. Because I had tried both. I had tried quality applying, quantity applying. I started with like quantity. Eventually, I moved towards like quality because it was not working for me. So one thing that I would actually like to share is also I also work for a hospital which is in Massachusetts, and I live in Durham, North Carolina. So it's like completely remote. So again, search anywhere and everywhere. Another thing that I would like to like point out would be like try to limit your search in what like area kind of you want to work, because I knew that I want to work with a hospital. So I wouldn't go on LinkedIn or like say Google job boards or like anywhere to like find okay health informatics job. What I would instead do would be like go on different hospital, like I would search hospital systems in North Carolina. If I find Wake Forest, I go onto Wake Forest website and try to look it. So that's a strategy that did work for me. And I applied for a job which needed like C++ and Java. I have no idea how those two works. So even if you are like qualified for 50% of the requirements, apply for those jobs, because you would feel that, oh my God, they require all these things. I am not good enough, but you are. You have some other capabilities that you bring to table which will be attractive to the employer. So don't limit yourself, because I had done that, and yeah, that worked out for me in like different ways. So
Yeah, I want to echo Maya and Ruchi's experiences. I did not get a job super easily. I had, you know, this idea that my internship would roll into a position and then they were on a hiring freeze, and then it was like, okay, now everything's uncertain. Well, I want to take a month off, just to chill out after school, and then at that point start looking for jobs, and it took months. And you know, studies show that women, people of color, international students, statistically, they don't apply for jobs where they don't feel they're 100% qualified. So to echo what Ruchi said, if you have half of the qualifications, apply. Like you never know, because the job applications, the job postings that get put up, a lot of that stuff is like canned stuff. They go into a system to put in a position, and they have like a checklist of things that are required, but a lot of it is like it's left over. It's not necessarily 100% relevant. So yeah, if you have interest, if you are somewhat qualified, you should apply. And to echo what Ruchi said about going on to like health systems websites. I 100% agree with that. My job position, I'm a nurse informatician. That's not my actual job position. My job position is research specialist. So when I went onto job websites, if I went to a health system, for example, in the keyword search, I would do like data, because positions are listed, the names of positions are vastly different from what they actually want someone to be doing. Rarely will you see like nurse informatician or clinical informaticist listed as a job description. Those places are like on the cutting edge. They know what they're doing, but most of the time those positions are going to be listed as something completely differently. So like that keyword search is super important. Yeah, highly recommend that.
Thank you. And before I move on, are there any questions from anybody in the audience? You can unmute yourself, you can type. Please, any questions are welcome. And I also want to ask about the interview process. How is that for you? If you have any interview questions that you remember during your job search, any advice on that area? I'll start with Jennifer.
Yeah, I would say prepare. If you get an interview opportunity, you need to set aside at least an hour of time to prepare for that interview. Research about the company, look at the position again, because you're putting out so many applications that you maybe forgot exactly what position it is that you applied to. So look at that position, look at the requirements, look at, what they want you to be doing, and mentally prepare for what that interview is going to be like. I had interviews that were even for first interviews that were quite technical, that were asking me questions about SQL. How do you join a soft skills questions, just trying to get to know me better. Um, but I'd say prepare for the audience. that you're going to be talking to, prepare for the position, study up. If someone gives you an interview opportunity, do not waste it in this job market. Seriously, dedicate some time, set some time aside before that interview, because if you come in unprepared, like it is going to show in how nervous you are, and you're not going to get, you're not going to give your best self. So you're doing yourself a disservice by not preparing.
Thank you. Maya?
Yes, so I honestly don't remember my exact interview questions, but I do remember a lot of those questions were more so pertaining to my soft skills than my technical skills. There were a few technical questions, but mainly my employers wanted to know how well I can problem solve. Am I a self-starter? How well I can see the bigger, bigger picture, communicate my communication and my presentation skills. You know, being able to work individually and collaborative, that was what was more important to them. Like Jennifer said, absolutely do your research and be able to answer questions and relate your experience and knowledge to that specific job title, because they don't care if you can't tell them exactly how you can, relate to the specific job title. Why either they don't want vague answers. But when it came to the questions, it was definitely more soft skills over technical skills. So yeah, that's what I remember most. Ruchi and Jennifer both mentioned, don't be afraid to apply for jobs where you're only 50% qualified compared to the job description. A lot of these jobs are more than willing to teach you the technical skills. If they like you, they'll teach you. And a lot of things in the job description you really won't do. Not a lot, but at least 20% of it you won't do. Like Jennifer said, they're getting that from a robot who created the job description for them. So, yes, and know your worth, be confident. Although we are absolutely sweating bullets from the neck down, they can't see that. Even if you're in person, they can't see that. Be confident. Not only when it comes to salary talk as well, be confident. If there's a range, name the max. You deserve it. It works. I would say it works. Just know your worth. Don't second guess yourself. We are nervous, and that is okay, but work on your speech in the mirror, work on eye contact, work on absolutely just, your poker face. For layman terms, work on your poker face. And I pass it to Ruchi.
Thanks, Maya. So one thing that I remember from my interview process was, again, like, be prepared. One thing that also helped me was to kind of do like a background, not exactly check, but like background research on who you are going to be interviewing with. Because a lot of time, like, I had like a vast panel, like I had like 6 people interviewing me, and there were a couple of data engineers versus couple of people were like data scientists, and then there was a manager. So some of their questions, I'm not saying that you would know that what they're going to ask you, but if you do that background research, you can understand like what kind of questions they will be coming up with. And other thing was, be flexible, because I know that it's like, when we are working and interviewing like our candidates, it's really difficult for even them to adjust like their interview times and stuff like that. So sometimes when they change, like, so be prepared for like get your interview timings changed, because I think that happened to me and I was so nervous, like, oh my god, what happened, why did they like change my interview time, do they not want me? It's not that, it's just that something might have come up and they are not being able to like show up 100% from for you at that time. So yeah.
Thank you. And I see, okay, on the chat, Danielle is asking if you were all full-time students. I believe you were all full-time students, yeah. And I can see how it would be helpful to have the perspective of somebody, working full-time. So Danielle, if you want me to connect you with somebody that was juggling the program as a part-time student, I'm happy to do that. But yes, everybody's nodding, all full-time students. And then another question here, this is for Ruchi. Can you expand a little bit on the difference between quality and quantity of the applications that you mentioned? Ying is asking.
Sure. So essentially for me, like quality versus quantity is, so I like to tailor my resume to the job that I'm applying to, because if you like if I am in that zone that I want to do like quantity applications, I will not spend a lot of time going in every time into my resume and tailoring my resume to that specific job description, versus quantity job, like quality job application were for me like I can only do like 5 of those in a day, but I would make sure that my resume has like tailored information towards what the job description is, since my education is like very different from what I am doing right now, and I had done like a lot of small projects throughout the years. So it does not make sense for me to have everything on one resume and make like 2 or 3 page long resume. My understanding is I always want to keep my resume short and sweet. I would always keep it like 1 page. So I do have like a master resume in which like all the keywords, everything is just put down in one document. And then when I am trying to do like quality applying, I will go in and look at the job description and try to tailor like whatever those experiences that I have had, what makes sense to put in the specific resume when I'm applying for this job. So yeah, that's like quality versus quantity applying.
Okay, thank you. That's very helpful, I think.
Yep.
And I just wanted to mention about resumes specifically. Highly recommend going and taking advantage of the opportunities that UNC offers as far as resume building is concerned. I also want to stress that 99% of employers at this point are using resume screening tools. So having a resume that very easily is transferred over into the application is super, super helpful. It's going to make your application process so much smoother and easier. And what I mean by that is that you can upload a resume and it auto parses through that resume and adds in your experience, it adds in your education, etc. Um, I highly recommend that because those screening tools, I mean, if you're not even getting past the screening tool, you're not getting into the hands of people who's going to see your resume. I have seen, I'll post a link in the chat. This website I've seen recommended really frequently. My husband used it to help prepare his resume, and it sets it up so that that parsing processes really easily. It goes through screeners really easily. And you can also add in like a job description, and it'll go through your resume and say like, hey, these job descriptions have these keywords. Your resume doesn't have those keywords. Maybe you should add them. So I highly recommend checking something like that out and definitely utilizing the UNC resources for resume building. Hopefully before you graduate, do it as soon as possible.
Thank you. And thank you for sharing that link. Hadn't heard of that. It sounds very helpful. And we have another question on the chat. So Ipu says, Jennifer mentioned that not all job titles in the description correctly portray the role. As someone who is interested in a broad range of fields within health informatics, like epidemiology, data analysis, etc., what advice would you give for narrowing down interests in the job or internship search?
Yeah, so echoing what Ruchi said, if you can get like an informational interview with someone to kind of if potentially narrow down what you want to do, because maybe you're excited about all these different things. You would be happy to work in any of those fields, but maybe you're not 100% sure what your best fit would be. If you're leaning more towards that latter, where you're not really sure what of those strikes your interest the most, talk to some people, talk to some alumni. The alumni group for CHIP we're all pretty passionate folks. Like we had a pretty strong turnout yesterday, of people that showed up and, were interested and willing to help you find that niche. If you are interested in all of those different fields, number one, good for you. Number two, on LinkedIn and Indeed and different job boards, you can, once you have your profile, your login set up, you can set up different keyword searches and it'll alert you when jobs that match those keywords are found. So you can set up different searches for data analysis, for epidemiology, and you'll get, those email alerts. You'll log in and be able to see how many jobs have been posted under each of those keywords. So that's what I would do, is set it up in that way. Because yeah, keywords are huge. Job positions do not reflect accurately what you're going to be doing, more than half of the time, I would say.
Thanks. And I see we have 4 more minutes, so I just want to wrap it up. If you can just briefly share your biggest piece of advice you have for students, specifically as they look for future careers and internship opportunities, but also in general. Just take this advice, just to wrap it up. I'll start with Ruchi.
I would say be confident again, like what Maya said, like be confident, because applying to these jobs is always it's going to be daunting. Like even if you're like 2 years into your job mark, like in your job place, it's still like sometimes frightening to go up to somebody and talk about like, hey, I need this from you, or like, hey, I need that from you. So definitely be very confident. The other thing is try to like find your niche, what Mariel said, because that's something that you're gonna like working on, because like it's a huge field. There's so many things that we can do with the skill set that we gain through chip. But like if you know like where you want to work and start like working in that zone, it will definitely add up. And the last thing that I would want to say, that is like that's what my mentor recently told me, that always be easy to work with. If you are going to be like difficult to work with, if you're not going to be flexible, if you're not going to like try to be gentle with people, people are not going to be like with in make try to make connection with you. So that's something that resonates with me very recently. So, yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. Maya?
Yes, I would like to leave you with advice of just knowing your worth. Know your worth. You all are so amazing. You all are so smart. You're earning your degree from one of the top health informatics programs in the United States. Chip is amazing. When you're searching for jobs, don't be afraid to just know your worth. Set that salary filter where you don't want to see anything lower than a certain amount. Set your requirement standards. Set those filters. You are worth it. I will say my first job was a nonprofit, so obviously the salary wasn't exactly what I would have imagined with the masters, but the opportunities that they offered, such as Salesforce Tableau certifications that are hundreds, thousands of dollars. They paid for me to go to a ton of different conferences, Salesforce in California, different places like that. That is what helped build my skill set. And I was able to get an even better job of my dreams in less than a year. Know your absolute worth. Don't give up. You guys are amazing. When you're feeling down, just know that's normal and your feelings are valid. But keep going. Oh, and one more thing. Jennifer hit it on the head. Please set your LinkedIn keyword searches. I think my keyword searches were data, health, research, just little things, analysts. Please set those. They send you daily emails, and I got both of my jobs based off the emails that LinkedIn were sending, and both of them were the easy apply options. They didn't require a cover letter or anything, just easy apply with your LinkedIn profile. So set those filters. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And Jennifer?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up. I know we're at time here. Yeah, I know that being in school is stressful. It's time consuming. You're looking for opportunities on the side. You're maybe you're working on the side, you've got a lot going on. Um, the seminar series is part of the coursework, but I know that, for me at first, I didn't take it super seriously. I was like, oh, this is this extra thing I have to do every week. I have to listen to someone. It was so important to me. It wound up being so important to see, all right, you're learning the theory, you're learning things in the class, theory mostly, like being able to see the actual experience of how informatics is being used in real life in the real world was super, super valuable. And it helped me figure out exactly kind of what niche I wanted to get into. I had ideas coming into the program about what I wanted to do, but how does it fit exactly within the world of informatics? And on that same note, in that same vein, I know you're busy. Plug yourself into conferences, plug yourself into free events. There's events that happen on campus, there's data science events. The School of Data Science, you know, loves to partner with CHIP students. They offer all different kinds of things. Trax has classes, the library has classes. Take advantage of the resources that are out there, because not only can you network, you can build that skill set. And all of those kinds of things look really good to potential employers.
Thank you all so, so much. This has been so helpful, so insightful. I really appreciate you all. Thank you. It was great seeing you all, great connecting with all. And thank you all for the questions to the audience. Yes, thanks again. And I'll be sharing the recording soon, and great to touch base with all of you. Have a wonderful
Thank you
afternoon.
all. Good luck.
Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.